call, please.
Mr. Simons.
Here.
Mr. Patsalas.
Here.
Mrs. Babel.
Here.
Mr. Blackstock.
Here.
Freehand is here. Mr. Boda is absent, and Mr. Horn is absent.
Okay, thank you.
You have a quorum.
All right. Moving on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we got the approval of the agenda as presented. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda that was presented? Hearing none, a motion to approve the agenda would be in order.
So moved.
Support? Deb? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the approval of the minutes of June 15th, 2020. They're in your packet. If there's no additions or deletions to the minutes, a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 15, 2020 as presented.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a support. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak about anything that's not on the agenda? Go to the podium, state your name and your address.
My name is Jennifer Hines, and I'm here today in hopes that the council will consider revising our chicken ordinance to allow backyard chickens. As the ordinance currently sits, there needs to be 5+ acres to own any chickens at all in our township. Many in our county and right next to us allow chickens on far less. Our neighboring township of China Township allows chickens on 1+ acre, so I could have up to 29 chickens on my property had I lived there. I believe the ordinance could be changed to please those who want to own chickens while still being respectful of their neighbors. I would like to suggest allowing chickens on 1+ acre to match our neighboring township that is only about a mile from my home. I think it's reasonable to ask to be able to have hens only on 1 to 5 acres and make sure that they're kept in the owner's yard by using a run or having a fenced-in yard. I would like to point out, we also have a township ordinance that allows horses on 3+ acres. I have 3 acres, so technically I could have horses, but not chickens. And I think the footprint for chickens in one's yard is far less than a horse and their needs. So I believe it should be a consideration based on that. And a big reason I'm here is because I was unknowingly in violation of the chicken ordinance, and I've now rehomed my chickens, but want to fight to get them back. And I believe it's possible to make that happen if we could change the ordinance. My experience owning chickens has been fun and a teaching experience for my children. We could walk in our own backyard and collect breakfast, and there was nothing better than fresh eggs and being able to share with family, friends, and neighbors. Sorry, I'm very nervous. When this pandemic started, I was very thankful that getting eggs wouldn't have to be a worry for me. I had very high anxiety and didn't step foot in a store until May. I had many friends saying the shelves were wiped out and there were no eggs. Now, things are getting somewhat back to normal, but I'm hearing there are still limits on cartons to buy eggs at the store. I don't know about everybody here, but I have a family of 5, and it takes 8 to 10 eggs to feed our family at a time. And I would have to go to the store far less if I just had my chickens in my backyard. These chickens were not only a food source to us, but a joy and our pets. Each one had a name, and we loved them all, and visiting them every day in our yard. Sorry. I have brought an online petition to share as well. is pictures for you all to look over. I'm currently working on a local petition with handwritten signatures and addresses from our local residents. And I'm hoping you'll look at everything I brought for you to consider revising our ordinance. I have a list of those in our county as well as other Michigan cities that allow chickens too. And I'd like to be able to come back in the future and for you all to consider a vote to change this for those looking to live a self-sustaining lifestyle, especially in these crazy times. No one should have to worry about their food sources. And that is all. And if you'd like, I'm sorry, I was so nervous. But I brought some things for you guys to keep so that you can look it over and consider for the future. I don't know how it works to get things put on the agenda, but I have pictures and I have some local ordinances and a petition that I did online that I can give you all to keep here, if that's okay.
Yeah, you can leave
Okay.
whatever you want, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not agree.
Larry, what does our ordinance presently have? 2 chickens?
No.
5 acres.
5 acres to own any chickens. My property, I have 3, but there's friends locally that just moved here too that thought they could own chickens that have 2 acres or have 1. And I just figured our neighbor township has 1+ acre and you can own 29 chickens.
Well, yeah.
So,
But I mean,
this-
we're a little more, I think the other townships are a little more rural is the thing that probably way back when, you know.
Whatever.
Yeah, just leave it right here, or give it to the
I
clerk.
did it in sections. These are like the ordinances I'd like to be considered as something we would consider. These are comments on a petition I wrote, is why it's good to raise chickens. Some pictures, and then this is the signed petition.
Okay.
It's 25 pages.
Well, we would
Just
have, I think we have to go
signatures.
through the planning commission, don't we, Herb?
It's nothing for you to look at other than names on this, but.
I don't know. I'd have to check
Do you
and
know
see if
the-
that's a planning issue or
Yeah.
if that's a.
Planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning, they'll have to go through. It's gonna take a while to do this.
Oh, I
I mean,
know.
it's not gonna happen overnight, because
I
this
know.
stuff has to have public hearings and has to have other things.
I know, I figured this was the start. to
It
get
is a good
started.
start, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So-
yeah, these are comments as to why chickens are good to have, and they have pictures and neighboring ordinances to help guide us to make it.
And we can get it to our planning and our
Okay.
zoning committees.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Did you get it?
Excuse me, I do have a question. Were you approached by the code enforcer? Is that why this all came about?
I was emailed I was sent a letter, and I was also given I was sent a letter and I had a phone call
There was
with
a
the ordinance
complaint.
officer.
There was a complaint that was
Signed
issued?
complaint,
Yes, I'm trying not to make it, I guess I should say, I believe honestly that the complaint had to do with something completely different, and it was kind of just a spiteful thing to get at me. Not anything to do with the chickens, because
Well,
I kept the chickens clean. I have pictures of their chicken run, I have pictures of their coop inside there, so that you know I was taking care of them.
Is your name and address and all of that on? any-
Actually, no, I should probably write that at the
That-
top. of
Yeah,
the-
write it on the back of one of those
Okay.
sheets or something.
Well, I have to tend to agree with her. I mean, if we're updating everything that we're doing, we need to update that ordinance because, I mean, I know when my kids were in elementary school, they had chickens, they would bring the chickens, they'd watch them hatch, they'd watch them go through the whole process, and then they got to take the chickens home. So my son brought 2 home, so I was in violation of that at that time.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if they own 3 acres and they want a couple chickens, and we're updating everything else, I don't see
Well,
why
that's
that
it.
should
We gotta
not be,
do it through the right
3 acres and
channel.
can't have a chicken, to me, is not, that's not
I agree.
acceptable.
We raised these as babies. I had them for a year and a half, and I rehomed them 1 week ago. And it breaks my heart because we enjoyed going to the backyard to get them every day, eggs. My kids were so excited when we got them. We have a very clean run. In fact, this is my neighbor right next door, and he knows too. He loved them as well. My daughter getting her first egg last year. So those are just a couple to help, give you an idea of how we cared for them.
and I like your shirt too.
Thank you. I have chickens on my mask too. But my son with his puppet chicken. playing with the chickens. He visited them at least 30 minutes to an hour every day outside.
They're fun to
Yeah, we
watch.
can't promise you anything, but we'll look into it.
Now, would she have to be the one to go before the planning and zoning, or will we forward the stuff on to planning for them?
think we'll forward it to
We'll
the
forward it to the planning commission for their consideration.
Yeah, because she's not asking for a variance, she's asking for the ordinance to be reviewed and potentially changed.
Yes, my chickens are already gone. I'm working to change the ordinance for the whole township and in hopes that maybe in the spring, if we get this changed in that springtime, I can maybe get my chickens back from the person I removed them from, or with, I should say.
Is our next meeting tomorrow?
I'm gonna write my
Date
address
tomorrow,
and
the
everything
7th.
on here.
Is it Thursday?
Every Tuesday.
Is there anybody else that has a public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have the C1, May 2020 St. Clair Area Fire Authority Report. We have the C2, June 2020 St. Clair River Sewer and Water Authority meeting minutes. We have C3 is the June 2020 Building Department Report. C4 is the May 2020 Revenue and Expenditure Report. C5 is the St. Clair County Sheriff's Quarterly Activity Report. And C6 is the June 2020 Marine City Fire Authority. Under Sheriff, would you like to come?
Yeah, just a few minutes, because it's been so
Okay.
long since we're here. I always watch for critical incidents that happen in our contracted townships, and there actually was one at the end of January, the 27th. There was a fatal car crash on M29 early in the morning, around 5 in the morning, involving an ambulance. And I always like to, we have one of the best crash teams, I think, in the state, and they were involved in this investigation. And what they determined, there was a vehicle that was driven by a 33-year-old from Marine City that crossed the center line and hit the ambulance head-on. Fortunately for the ambulance, there was just a minor injury to one of the paramedics. But the following day, the driver that was at fault died at the hospital. Again, it's just one of those incidents that the cooperation of having contracted townships really helps us out, because we have some really qualified people that can go out to these accidents that don't happen very often, and they're very technical. And I know the crash team, I read the report this morning, it's very, very lengthy and very extensive. With all the technology nowadays that's in a vehicle, from there's data recorders that records every second that's going on, and it's just amazing. But in this incident, the person at fault was killed, so there will be no criminal charges at that point. But I did want to let the board know that that was an incident that did occur here in the township, as I'm sure you guys are all aware of. There was one other incident. It doesn't involve the township, but it involves one of your deputies, and it happened a couple days after the first incident I just talked about. There was a gentleman in St. Clair Township that had dementia and had walked away from his home, about 4 in the afternoon. I think this is February 1st, so it's pretty cold at night. And they searched all night, and they were unable to find him. And Chad Conkright is one of the deputies that's assigned to the township. And what Chad did, when he came back on in the morning, he said, hey, they found this gentleman. They hadn't found him. So Chad went to the last place that somebody thought that they might have seen this gentleman, parked his car along the railroad tracks by Davis Road, and began walking up and down the railroad tracks. And within about 20 minutes, he found another set of tracks and followed it way back into the set of tracks, and actually found the gentleman had been outside for over 16 hours. And I'm sure within a matter of a couple hours, that man probably would have died from exposure. But that was, Chad's being recognized with the life-saving award because of that incident. But I just want to bring that to the board's attention.
Good. Any questions for the undersheriff? I mean, the report looks pretty good. I mean, we don't have no big spikes anyplace.
No, it's a very strange time. Everything's picking up. The court system's starting to get back going again, so.
Yeah. I see the B&E alarms, but those could just be false alarms, or,
A majority of them are.
yeah.
I had one for China Township where we had a break-in where the deputies caught the person.
I like the one big number, that 43 there on the public assistance. I think that's,
Yeah, no, we talked about that, I think, one of the prior meetings. I did do a random poll to try and see if there is something that we could put in a category, but they're so, sometimes it's somebody calling about, they think there's noise and they think there's somebody breaking in, turns out that, it was an animal or something fell. It's just a wide variety of things that are all grouped into assist publics. Sometimes it's just information they want, and then they kind of.
But it gives our residents
Yep.
peace of mind and know
Yep.
that somebody's there when they call.
Somebody's there when they call, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
How did we do with fireworks?
I know, I live in Marysville, and there was a lot of noise between like 9 o'clock and noon, but for most part, people were really respectful. After the posted hours, it got pretty quiet. We didn't have a lot of complaints. So that people are at least following the laws, at least this year, it seemed like it was much better. I noticed it got a lot quieter, There were sometimes when that law first changed where fireworks were going off at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and it seems like at least people have gotten a little more respect of it. And part of it's education. They understand, listen, you can only do it during these certain times. And hopefully education's helped a lot too.
Good.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You need a motion for.
All right, so that concludes the consent agenda, so need a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a support. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to disbursements. We have invoices of $31,176.72. We have accounts payable of $113,154.40. We have payroll direct deposit of $72,135.71. We have payroll EFT payments of $60,786.52 for a total disbursement of $281,462.26.
I'll make a motion that we pay the bills in the amount of $281,462.26.
I support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we pay the bills in the sum of $281,462.26. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Mr. Blackstock?
Yes.
Mrs. Babel?
Yes.
Mr. Patsalos?
Yes.
All yes.
Motion carries. Next, we have old business. We have none at this point. Moving on to new business, asset management software. This will be a presentation done by the township manager, Cindy Paparelli.
You have in your packet a cover letter explaining kind of the history and the background of our proposal and consideration for getting some high-level specialized software to help us manage the assets that we're required by the state to manage and report back on. You also have letters of recommendation from the 3 department heads who would be utilizing this software. Also included are some cut sheets from the vendor, as well as their proposal. And our gentleman from Empower is on the line waiting whenever you're ready. If you have questions for me first, or if you want to listen to the proposal or the presentation and then kind of come back, you can do whichever. He's probably got about 10 or 15 minutes he'd like to go through explaining what it is in a little more detail.
Is he going to stay on afterwards for questions?
Sure.
So what's the next step then?
Do you want me to bring him on, or?
Yeah, I think so,
questions
yes.
for me? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. I think the board's ready, aren't you? See what we got.
Jason,
Yes, Cindy.
I got you online here, and I'm getting the screen up for you.
Okay. And I have no problem hanging around for questions.
All right. All right, I can see your PowerPoint So whenever you're ready to start.
All right, I'm having a difficult time hearing. If there's no background noise, I hear you guys real well. You can interrupt me if you want, or I can mute. If it gets loud, I may mute you till I'm done with the PowerPoint, stop for questions, then get into the software demo. And if all goes well, I won't mute anybody, and we'll just keep going as long as you guys can hear me and see things.
Okay?
One question, Cindy, which of your trustees are there tonight? Because that'll help focus me on the presentation.
Okay. We've got our Township Supervisor, Larry Simons, our clerk, Bob Freehand, trustees, Angelo Patselis, Deborah Babel, and Herbert Blackstock.
Okay, all right. Well, if you guys are ready, I would like to start the presentation, introduce myself and Mark. So, good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason Brown. I'm the president and CEO of Empower. Mark Nichols, who is our longest standing employee who happened to grow up in your neighborhood, is along tonight to answer any questions, and he'd be one of the two technicians I would help deploy the products and solutions focused on affordable and sustainable GIS and asset management at East China Township. Mark, could you say a little more about where you're from?
Hi, everybody. I actually grew up close to where you guys are. My home was just on 21 Mile in Jefferson, just north of Selfridge Air Force Base. Currently, my parents live in Chesterfield Township, which isn't too far from you guys. And as a coincidence, my brother actually is an assessor for Chesterfield Township. So I'm pretty familiar with your area. You know, the Anchor Bay, Baltimore area is where I grew up. So that actually worked well for me, gave me a reason to come down and visit my family. So just so you know, I'm from that area. Currently, I live up in the Upper Peninsula. I've been up here for quite a while. Met my wife at Karen, who moved up here early on. So I live in UP, but I am very familiar with the area where you guys are.
Thank you, Mark. I grew up in the UP, spent my last week downstate. Now I'm in the competition with Mark to become part of a UP because he's been here longer than I have. Without further ado, I got some stuff that might be showing in the way of my slides. There we go. So our company, our mission is to make GIS and smart enterprise deployments more affordable and user-friendly by keeping their costs down and keeping them simple and user-administrable. The whole concept behind GIS and asset management is to put usable, actionable intelligence in the hands of the people that need it. That's from your village manager to your tradesmen out in the field, to your subcontractors, to anyone that needs information to do a better, more efficient job for you. Our software is built to do that. Empower's been incorporated since 2006. The software that we've actually proposed has actually been around since 2000. We just spun off that division and created Empower in 2006, incorporated. We have customers in 34 states, and that's primarily east of the Rockies. We've been in the business for 25 years with guys like Mark that have been in it from the beginning before GIS was a thing. We used to be an Autodesk reseller throughout the Great Lakes region, so when GIS came around, we started dabble in that industry and became experts as a whole company based on GIS. So our current deployments are focused on utilities, water, sewer, electric are the primary ones. A lot of our customers have gas and manage phone and fiber and internet. And GIS and our beginnings were in the county, city, township governments and with some of the educational colleges around the state of Michigan and in New York. And nothing's working fast today. I'm trying to page down. Oh, now it's working. So I thought one of the things to just put some context on who we are and what we're doing locally. In the state of Michigan, these are all the cities we're working with that use our software throughout: the utilities, the public works, the code enforcement, the public BIS, the townships up here. These three are current and long-term customers. Civil engineering firm we partner with and do a lot of work with: counties, Menominee, Cohetick. Rural Electric Cooperative up in Ontonagon, which serves basically from Lawrenceburg up through the Keweenaw Peninsula. Marquette Blatant Power, who's the largest municipal utility in the Upper Peninsula and one of the larger in the country. Elger Delta Cooperative. Ferris State University has a phenomenal deployment of our software and has been a customer for a long, long time. Gull Lake Sewer and Water Authority is another mature customer, and the Zealand Board of Public Works. So GIS and Integrator, which is the product proposed, is really a web-based GIS, and I like to describe it as a biz hub for your organization. And we're talking a lot about utilities, but utilities is just one very important piece of the pie. So from the utility side, the Integrator becomes the portal where your maps of your utilities, your parcels, your homes, your streets, your assets reside in the GIS, but the real value beyond the maps is linking all of these other data sources or enterprise softwares, such as your metering structure defined here as AMR, AMI, a public, which might be a place to communicate with your residents and customers, and I'll show you an example of that in a couple of slides. SCADA, which you're using to manage your infrastructure and make that available to the people that need it. An automated vehicle location system, you'll see an example of that in the slide. Work order is a big component of what we're going to do with you guys. And then your billing and finance solutions and systems. And the BSNA software that you use is pretty much got a monopoly in the state of Michigan. So I would say 3/4 of those customers that I listed on the previous slide have BSNA. We've integrated it in great detail with that. And then leak, which might be important for you guys in the water side. So here's what a typical GIS system, and this is a water system, and you see the blue lines identify the distribution pipes or mains, and that's usually maintained in the GIS or a mapping platform such as CAD and Esri. And it also gives you the ability to trace around if a main breaks, you got to know which valves to shut off to isolate that main. If there's contamination issues, things like that, you need to trace back and figure out what the cause was. There's talk of work orders, and those come from a variety of sources, from a billing system, from our solution, from other sources. And in this particular example, they're just identified as red dots on the map, so people know there's work to be done. If they're in the area or it needs to be done, they can go run a report or just see it visually where it's at. And then you see green in the red triangles. That's an example of vehicle location. Green means they're moving, red means they're stopped. And this is just some of the information in the statement in the bottom of the right of the slide, link data from any source. We consume that and share it with people that need it. And you, as a community, as a township, will have ultimate control over what data is linked to the system, what data you share with who and how much. And just because you share something with somebody, then you have to determine how much you want to let them do with it. Do they view it? Do they see it? Can they update and edit it? And that goes, can vary by every single user and person inside the utility. the public sites are typically just information site. And on the left, under the reports, is just some example reports which, in this case, a water utility would have, that they could run in these assets that are shown in the map. So a public outage map or an incident map, in the case of you guys, this happens to be the Marquette Board of Light and Power, and they just show where outages are in their service territory. I have as many flavors of these maps as I have customers. None of them look the same. They all want their own flavor and look, and we can accommodate whatever you want with our software. Maintenance management's a big part of GIS and the solution, and that's basically giving the people that are users to the software the ability to access maintenance requirements, work orders, document things that they deal with and respond to, and maintenance that they conduct, and updating and scheduling all that asset maintenance and inspection. I'll give you a couple examples of that here as we move forward. And again, this is all definable and can be built around East China's workflows and current methods of doing things and leverage the data you have. A lot of software, sometimes you buy a software and you have to not only learn how to use a new tool, but you have to reinvent the way you do things. We like to say that we'll absorb and work with your existing workflows almost exclusively. We'll do what you want to do. Another example of a screenshot, and this is just valve maintenance for exercising water valves. And then you see another half a dozen examples of what you can select, and then the forms on the tablet or smartphone. You can use this on any connected device, and you don't need software on those devices. The software resides in your infrastructure. Here's some examples of forms that we use and customers have created for meter lid programs, exercising valves, and in your case, getting all the valves in the map and then exercising them. And work orders can be for basically a variety of things, whatever needs to be done. With that, if there's questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or I'll jump in and give you a quick tour of the software and a couple of the examples that I showed Cindy and the guys when I was down there a few weeks back. I think maybe a month ago by now.
I've got one question, Jason. How does this work in detecting water leaks? How do you detect a water leak? I see one of your things there was leak detection for water.
So this is the point of entry into Empower's Integrator software. I provided East China with their own username and password. I'm going to log in as the administrator just to show a little bit more. So when I log in, there's a whole bunch of sites on this place, and these are different communities and counties and utilities sites, but yours is up here at the top, and this is East China. And what a site is, it is your maps and data attached to those various enterprise systems. And you may have a couple of sites when it's said and done. The pricing of our software has nothing to do with sites or how many users. It's all fixed and locked in. By creating multiple sites just gives you more options and the ability to carve up what you're sharing with people. So I'm going to log into East China's site. And this was with some initial data we were provided from an old, I think, obsolete GIS. And we pulled it in and created these sites. We got, a first pass at a parcel layer from the county, and then we got some asset information from some asset management spreadsheets, and we pulled one or two things in just to show you how it works. So I would like to just walk through the product itself and show you what some of the things are that can do. And of course, the more you zoom in, the more information you see. Some of the things that are unique, I'll just work my way around the toolbar here. The first thing is something that's important is you have a lot of infrastructure that isn't mapped. So we're going to give the quick button, we're going to empower the people that are, I call them the boots on the ground, that are walking around your utilities and community all the time, the ability to add and update things whenever they see the map is incorrect. So you got, and everywhere it says add, you can also move and edit. So hydrants, service locations, which are basically the green squares, which are meters, curb stops, which are your valves to and from the water to your house, and then gate valves. And I'll dive into those during the demo, but these were just made so that the people have a one button to click and get to this stuff. They don't need to run reports or do it. The other thing is just a system menu, and this is where the administrator would get in and do things and stuff like that. I don't need to go into there. Tracing is something that once your infrastructure is in there and proper, you can trace up and downstream from, the water tower to the water meter, or from the collection pipe to the sewage treatment plant. Printing any kind of map you want. This is an important tool which is going to make it weird, but it'll show you where I'm sitting. So the geolocate button, if you click this on, it's going to put the map on right where you're at. And if I zoom out, you'll see I'm a long way away today. So I'm up here in Iron Mountain versus where you guys are at. So I'm not going to use that today. Now if I hit 5, it always takes me back to the map right where I was or left off. I have the ability to redline and mark up things on the map that I want to have changed or discovered. I can measure anything, areas, circles, lengths, great for evaluating bids. And if there's a water main break or some construction project, you can figure out exactly how many yards of pavement or asphalt you need and things of that nature. Buffering tools, which are kind of neat, is you can run a buffer around a school, around a home, a resident for, permittings and hearings and zoning variances and things. So this gives you the ability to quickly run a 300 or 1,000 foot buffer and automatically generate mailing letters or a letter to the affected residents. So it takes a lot of time savings in that. Base maps, here's the layers that are shown on the map that we took in from the data that we had to just start evaluating what you have and what can be done with it. So we got water pipes, fitting, gate valves, hydrants, sanitary manholes, sanitary pipe, curb stops, servo locations, and the parcels, which we just got last week, I think. So that's the data that's in here. The query module is the way you find things where you don't necessarily know where it is on the map, but you want to find it in the data by a customer name, by a parcel ID, by a service address, by a hydrant number. We'll do that, but we'll come back to that. But the queries are the way you find things. Usually you're using the GIS to do something or solve a problem or get information. And how you find that information is different in most situations. Sometimes you have a direct physical, hey, the police called, their hydrant on the corner of this street and that street got hit. Sometimes it's a tradesman saying, hey, I'm by meter number this or address that. So it really depends if the clue is map-based or definition-based, and then you have to go find where it is on the map. So we give you the ability to do both. This is kind of a unique thing when the people are in the field. It just basically allows you to use whatever device, whether it's your mobile phone, a tablet, and get full real estate of whatever you're looking at to whatever level of detail you want to go on whatever device. So it will give you usable views of the map regardless of your device. All you're doing is logging into a website and putting your password in. Again, going home, put you back to your initial view. These are just traditional map, navigating, zoom in, zoom out, pan right, pan left. Map tips are important as people are getting familiar with the product. You turn the map tips on and then things show up when you when you want to see them. And the most unique and makes Empower software different than everything else. It makes it easy to use. It's called the Smart Reporting. So I'll just start by selecting a circle, and it's really good for guys like me because I don't know your system and maps and data the way your people do. But if I run a report and just say drag a circle over an area, something really powerful happens. First of all, it says, who am I by the log credentials? And in the area I just dragged over or circled or drew a box around or maybe a polygon to particularly isolate something, these are all the information that's here that I have permission to see. So I have fitting report, parcel report, valve report, hydrant report, manhole reports, pipe, water and sewer pipes, curb stop locations, and service location report. So I'll just run a parcel report. This is brand new. I haven't seen it yet, so we'll see what's in there. And basically what it's going to do is highlight all of the parcels that were inside of that circle that I looked at and what appears in this report. So there's 150 parcels in that selection, and what information appears here is completely up to you. Whatever's in the data and whatever BS&A, we can have owner names, property descriptions, after hours contact information, completely arbitrary. As long as the data's there, it can be presented, and you could give different parcel reports to different employees with different information. What I'd like to do is just run through a couple specific examples of things I did with the guys, and actually I'd like to do something and personalize it. And I think you said Mr. Blackstock and Mr. Freeman were in this meeting, and so we got some. You guys don't have parcels in the data that we were given yet, but that's just some work. But I'm going to search, since I don't know where you guys are at, I'm going to try and see where your meter is at. And the meter data that we have on the map just came from the billing system, so it's been placed on the lot or the curb, and we don't know what it is in reality on the house. So I'm going to say, I'm going to use a distance search, and I can log in by an address. So let's go with Mr. Freehand, and I have an address of 1711, and I know that's River Road. Don't need to do that because I just need to know it contains. So I'm going to look at the service location, run that report, and it will pull up the information on Mr. Freehand, sorry. But now what I do, and this goes back to, hey, I don't know where you live, but if I want to see right now, I can hit the zoom button, and it will center my map on Mr. Freehand. And these green circles are the meters or the service locations. This one started out here on the street. I just moved it to the middle of the lot. So what I want to do is, Mr. Freehand, if you told me where on your house or in your yard your meter is, I could move it there with this tool. And I can also open up a form. I'll just demonstrate moving it. And I have, since the audio's kind of, so I can start a GPS unit and get exact lat and longitude coordinates, and that will move it. Or I can use the map select button, and I can hit map select. I have to hit the button. Then it says check where it's at. So let's just, for the sake of discussion, say the meter's right there. Submit that. And then it would ask me, field verified. I'm going to say no because I'm guessing here. I'm going to submit the form, exit it. I'll resume to your map. And now your meter's been moved where I put it on the house. Now the next thing where you want to get attribute data is called a form, where we want to pull all the information that exists in the database, and this came from a spreadsheet provided. Whatever information I have, the service side, this is going to be important for, lead and copper and figuring out your materials so I can pick what size it is. And these are all the sizes that were in the data from you already. The curb stop meter material, so that's from the water, from the curb stop to the house. And obviously, we don't want lead in there, but the reality is there's going to be the install date if it's known, and then the field location verified. So I'm just going to submit it since it's not real information. And any data or change goes into the EIS live, or it can go back to management or engineering and get a final approval before it changes on the map. It's, again, kind of a user preference. In small communities and townships, the guy doing work, probably the guy that would approve it anyway, so why add an approval process? Again, the option is there. So there's an example of dealing with the meters, which, like I said before, start by just coming out of the billing system and being put there. Now we got to move them to where they go. The next example is about the curb stops. And the curb stops are these green boxes with the red around them. So I can do a similar thing. Someone have a question?
No, we're good.
Sorry. So if I run a curb stop report, and we did this outside of the shop, so I've already at that curb stop, so I don't zoom to it. I could move it, and again, we could move like we did before, and we took the one in front of the shop and we put it out in the center driveway where it actually was, submitted it. It's there. We could say the field location is verified now, be done, exit it, zoom to that button. It put it right in the middle of that driveway where we said it was. Again, here's the data that all of the curbs, you guys have about 15-20% of your curb stops in the system. This tool gives them the ability to add every one of them, snapping a picture with their phone or tablet, adding the type of curb stop, whether it's accessible or not, the sizes, the materials. So all that data can be entered by the people that know that data, and it doesn't need to, be a special project or GPS project. The boots on the ground can do it through the course of ordinary business. So really, I guess I would go back to the one other thing I did is I was given an asset management sheet, which has a lot of the data that you guys are doing a hell of a job of keeping track of, but it's not linked to the maps. So if I want to take all this data from this valve sheet, and you see there's a ton of data in there, and I want to link it to the map, I've created, just as one example, a way of doing that. So if I go back to my map, I'm going to hit cancel here. I'm going to hit F5, go back to the beginning. And the valves, if I look at my layer, they are blue X's. These were some I just threw out in no man's land to test. But if I go into the system here, there's gate valves here. So I'm just going to grab this particular one, and I should do a different, instead of select a circle, I'll select a polygon. So I'll grab a handful of them. So I can, and you see my tooltips telling me what I do, what I'm doing. So if I made a polygon around that and said, give me all the valves in that area, run the report. I'm going to close that. So there were, looks like there's 4 or 5 valves, 7 valves thing. Now another function is that if I wanted to look at all the valves that are, I can use the zoom all button, which will center all of those assets in the middle of my map. So I enlarge my map to get the biggest map I could and still contain those, but let's edit one of them. So you see there's no data in here on these valves. It's all in that spreadsheet. So I want to, let's just zoom to this particular one. it always puts the one you zoom to in the middle of the map, so, or if you're using that geolocate button, you'd be standing on it. I have the edit tool, so I'm gonna edit the gate valve. Now, the one thing I'm at a disadvantage here, I don't know what these valves are, so I have to pick one, or somebody that knows the system. Here's all your valves that are on that spreadsheet have already been put in the database. So I'll just say, hey, I'll just grab Bell, pretend that's Bell River valve, and I'll submit that form. So now if I zoom back to that, or I might have to run that report. Let me rerun that, and that should be. So there, it pulled all that data from the spreadsheet and brought it in. So a lot of people would take time and spend money to collect all this data. I'm saying you have it. The first time somebody needs it is when they run it, so the data can come in as you need it, and then it's there permanently. Really, that kind of concludes what I wanted to show today, other than explain what we did for the valve data coming from the Excel spreadsheets and moving into the GIS can be done for the lion's share of this data. And if you look at all the different assets, you got your valves, your water mains, your storage assets. You know, there's a lot of data in here that can be linked and tied into the GIS. With that, I'm happy to take questions or go down a rabbit anything anyone wants to know.
Jason, this is Bob Freehand. The question, is this designed so that it's one click away from providing the data that Eagle needs or that the state needs? Is it designed to function that, to give you that kind of facility?
Did you hear him?
I hear him, but I can't tell what he's saying.
Is this designed to provide, I'm sorry,
Is the system designed to?
I'm hoping you guys heard me better than you. Maybe can you chat it to me or speak?
Is the system designed to be one click away from giving Eagle or the state the data that they need? Do you need to do a lot of manipulation of the data before you can provide the report that the state is looking for? Or have you, when you've designed this software, do you have Eagle and the state reports in mind and are trying to facilitate the ease with which that report can be given?
Should you try restating that?
Well, what I think I'm hearing him say is when I say that the state requires us to submit an asset management plan, this is what would build that plan. We have created and submitted a plan in 2017, and that requires us to provide predictions and planning for future funding. So by knowing where everything is and how old everything is, and that this tool will allow us to complete that cycle as the state requires us to resubmit our AMP.
My question was,
Absolutely.
can you do it?
Yeah, you know, the first fundamental step to asset management is really to know what you have, where it is, and what condition it's in. And a lot of that data resides in that spreadsheet I was perusing, and a lot of it still needs to be collected and added. And this becomes the repository, or what they call the system of record, for all that data. The one thing it didn't show a lot of is the report. So you can recall, search, query, filter, and edit that data with any parameters that you want, so long as there's data in there to sort, query, and filter by, which there's plenty of. And you can build little reports and forms that become more PDF and data, you know, more user-friendly, that you can just export, print from the system or email them right out of the system. And that's what most of these communities and utilities are doing. I hope that answered the question.
I was looking at the ease with which that can be done.
I can give you an example. Okay. So we recently, to apply for my Part 41 permit, we're required to show them what we have been investing in our I&I infiltration and to prevent that from getting worse. So what I had to do, given our current situation, I had to go through every invoice for every vendor that has done work for us for I&I, that's the cameraing and the repairs, and manually put a spreadsheet together. With this in place, I could pull a report.
Yeah,
And
so
it's applied
the key there would be to get all the data that you might have presently and pull it in, or to drive a stake in the ground and say, hey, when an invoice comes in that's related to this asset or that asset or a group of assets, you link it to the asset, and then you can search and say, show me all of the expenditures. In fact, that reminds me of one thing I wanted to show how you link stuff, and it had to do with some of the legacy drawings that were in the system, and I think it had to do with, I think it was pipe search. So if here's a net query, so I can search for materials, I can search by size. In this case, I just want to search by has documentation and run the report. So there's these different water mains, all zoom to one again. And I would highlight that water main in the middle of my map. And then I've got all the data, scanned drawings that we would have to go find. Oh, I just shut my system off. Oh no.
So can I add something, Jason?
Sure, Mark.
So, one of the strengths of Empower, as you might have noticed, is the fact that we're very good at tying all these different data sources together into one portal that you can access the information. So if a location has, we have a curb stop with a service location, but there's also valves, there's also meters. All those different data sources can be linked all to one place to get that information. So when you search on something, you could have all these different reports related to that object. We're taking map data and spreadsheet data, databases, other data sources, and tying them all together into one location. And it's all permission-based based on your login, whether or not you can see that information. I just wanted to...
Thanks, Mark. And the historical work, not just costs, but work performed, who did it, when, what was done, all that historical information gets stored and associated with those assets. And, we went through with probably 10 customers in the state of Michigan for the storm and wastewater asset management, that SAW plan, and did their entire asset management plan, evaluated the criticality of every manhole and televised of their sewer and storm mains, and all that data was tied into the GIS along with a criticality factor associated based on those inspections. Hey, these 5's got to be dealt with immediately. These 4's are next on the list, and we better start taking stock of the 3's because those will be the next 4's. And there's a lot of information in your system on remaining life, service life, stuff like that we can pull in so that you guys can search on it and period.
Larry, did you want to restate your question again?
Yeah, I just wondered, how does it work if we have said you could identify water leaks? How does that work?
I think in your Biz Hub, you showed as leak detection as one of the potential aspects. You'd like more information about that?
So, and pardon me for not, do you guys have an AMI metering infrastructure yet? Automated meter reading?
We have the meter readings.
I guess I don't know the answer to that question, our DPW.
So, that works a lot like outages doing electric. Your meters have parameters on them that if there's continuous flow all the time, flow that exceeds the threshold of the parameters that were set for a user or a customer, that it will alert that, hey, there's something going on here, could be a leak or could be excessive usage, could be a water main break in the basement when people are away on vacation. All of those things show up, and it can also access data from other things. If your engineers or your people were to put flow meters and things in particular areas of your infrastructure, you could monitor that data or bring that data in and report on it. And what happens, again, when things fall outside of normal parameters, I say sometimes, well, the guy that, if something's going on in the system that shouldn't be going on or is of a concern, I always say, then the guy who opens up the GIS that is responsible for that disruption or leak or whatever it is, he'll turn on his GIS and a skull and crossbones will be flashing on that house with the leak, or it could even go so far as to give him a text or email alert when that condition is met or falls outside of the norm. So there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat, but I think with leak detection, it's all about flow or usage outside the norm.
Okay. Any other questions for him?
Yeah, I'd like to, I see that training is included in his price. Is that training for all our department heads, and how much training is that?
Did you hear that? The question is about training. How much is included, and is it for everyone who would be using the system?
The proposal you have is for the software with an unlimited number of users, sites, and data. We price our solution based on the number of meters in the utility or the population of the town. And I think you guys were the second from the bottom in terms of size and pricing structure. So there's only, I think, communities with less than 2,500 meters would have one step down from you.
And the training, he
They
was
were
asking,
giving us, includes two products, so they were each discounted 20% based on a bundle discount. And regarding the number of users, you can set them up and let them use them. You can have the public access stuff without a password, that's just stuff fit for the public's consumption. And like I mentioned Ferris State early, they create users and sites for all of their subcontractors for building automation, civil and electrical engineering, and they let those contractors in there to get the information that normally they would come to the physical plant and tie up somebody to get and print drawings. Now they have
okay,
access.
Jason, real quick question. I think he was asking about the training. What the price of the training includes.
The training is the deployment services, and that is us coming down and letting the folks who are going to interact and use the software, train them specifically on what they're going to do with the software. We don't do the kind of general training, here's the software, here's what it can do. There's a little about the administrator and the people that are kind of going to be the keeper of the keys. But what we really want to do is hop in the truck with the guys and go, kind of like we did with you when I was there, and I was impressed. I think it was Blaine. We did a curb stop with him, and we were talking as a group, and he was across the street and down the block entering hydrants and valves, and he didn't even ask for help. So we try to make it that user-friendly, but the training will be on how to get that data from that spreadsheet into the GIS, link it to the assets, or build them a tool to automate that. So that's really,
Okay.
there's a administrative
That answer?
training and then some end user training.
All right.
And then some setup and configuration of the things, which we got a good job on because we did this demo site, which has a lot of the heavy
You could
lifting
ask a
done already.
warranty. A warranty. What kind of a warranty do we have?
Warranty?
Yeah, what, on the system itself?
Well, it's a software. Warranty?
Did you say warranty?
Yes, he's asking about warranty.
So there's line items on that quote called maintenance for each of the two softwares. And what that does, that keeps you up and running. It includes any debugging or issues, which we have rarely ever have them, but it also includes or means the new version of the software every time it's released or updated and no charge. So you will always have the latest version of Integrator and Editor maintenance management. And a lot of software companies charge you maintenance and then they charge you again for the software when you upgrade. So as long as you're current on your maintenance, all future versions of the software are at no charge.
And the last question, does anybody in Macomb County, St. Clair County, Sanilac County, anybody down in this area have the system?
Didn't look like it.
Did you hear that one, Jason?
Not,
Okay, you showed the customer list. He's wondering if there are any local customers in this area.
Go is probably the most appropriate, and they're up northeast between Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids. Probably closer would be actually down in Ohio along the border, on Pelier. The Ferris State University, which is pretty much across the state.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
don't know,
Who doesn't?
did I have
That was
any
my
others?
question, too.
Oh, Zealand, but they're
That
complete,
was my
they're just
question.
outage management,
There's
so
nobody right
they're
now.
not a.
Any other questions? No? All right. I think we're good for now.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if anyone has questions or anything comes up, don't hesitate to reach to me and I will respond.
I will certainly do that.
Thank you for your time and consideration and inviting us to present.
All right, thank you.
Cindy, would you like me to end the meeting and jump off the call?
Yeah, I can, I'm trying to end, but I can't leave, so I guess you can end the meeting. Oh, there I go. I'm gone.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead. Cindy knows a lot about it too.
Uh,
And I was at the demonstration.
Cindy, you mentioned in here that you looked at two other ones.
We looked at one other. We initially were advised of this company from other communities who are using this other company called Silversmith Data. So we brought them in, and it seemed like a really good product. And then Dwayne happened to hear about this other option here and got us up to just to see a kind of an online tutorial or a YouTube demonstration, and it seemed even more intriguing. So we invited them down to come and give their proposal.
So you mentioned in here, you were looking at it as a better fit. You felt that this of the three that you looked at in one way or another, this fit our system
Right.
better,
Right.
given where we're
my
at.
fit, the fact that they integrate directly with BSNA is going to be just a fantastic opportunity for us to really use it as a tool instead of another standalone software. The other one did not integrate. It would be yet again a whole nother software package that doesn't talk to our existing financial software or our water billing software, which this one would do.
This one also seemed to be able to use the data that does exist, that we have, even though it might be 10 years old. At least there's a starting point. You're not starting from scratch. You can import all those Excel spreadsheets and things like that.
Right. He had asked us to just send him whatever we wanted to try and get kind of a mock-up of what it could do for us. So based on what Dwayne and Blaine and Chuck were able to send, he was able to very quickly and easily, with a couple days' work, put together what makes you feel like you know what you would be using, what you'd be
I
getting.
mean, Blaine really caught on to it, like he said in the demonstration. Blaine was over there with that tablet of Dwayne's, and he was programming a change in
And
right here on Rico
As
Road.
far as the benefit to the other department heads in their letters, I think they overviewed that. I can't speak for it. I can only speak for the benefit of knowing that we have to do some we have to figure out a better way to do long-range planning, capital improvement planning, and on top of it, this will also aid in our asset management plan, which is our state requirement.
My only concern is I just want to make sure that it's going to be used to its full potential, because going back in history, we paid a lot of money for BSNA and then found out that it was just sitting there. And nobody was using it to its full potential before some changes were made. So that's really my only concern, is that we're actually going to use this for what it was intended for and get the most out of it before we spend that amount of money.
I think if Dwayne and Blaine and Chuck were here, and if you were present with us at the site meeting, they are very excited at the opportunities that this is going to bring to them to be more efficient and do better planning.
And it also will be used in the plants. So Chuck and Dwayne will be using this too, for maintenance on equipment. That's what that little maintenance part of that was, where they can schedule stuff and it like spits out orders when pumps have run so many hours or whatever.
Right.
And you're right, Herb, we spent a lot of money. We spent $30,000. I believe it was more than 10 years ago. 'Cause
When you
I don't
say,
remember. Do you remember when I think it was before my time, and I've been around here 18.
No, we did it when Sandy Smith was here. She wanted to do the BSNA.
Now you're
No,
talking
no, I
about
mean,
BSNA
when
or-
we did the GPS of half the township that Wade Trim did for us.
And that's the basis of what
That's what he's
he's
plugged in
starting
there already.
with.
They haven't, like you said, a lot of the township isn't even recorded yet. That's what he's using, that data there.
Right.
He plugged that in.
And unfortunately, not much has changed, that the pipes are still where the pipes were then, type
Yeah.
thing, so.
But we've added pipes, Boulder Creek,
Right.
different things have been
Cindy,
added.
what was the cost of the other two? Do you by chance remember
So
what they were?
I didn't price out ArcGIS. ArcGIS is something that people were using back when they did this initial GIS database mapping. And I didn't price it out because it is, the reason that we didn't go with ArcGIS in the beginning is it's one, what he was talking about, every time they do an update, you have to pay for it. Every seat you have to pay for, which means every user has a license. So I didn't price that. I know it's an option if we wanted to look at that, but not many communities are using that because there become opportunities for these smaller businesses to really hone in on asset management. And ArcGIS is a much broader platform. They've got interfacing with all kinds of city data and things like that. So the second one, it didn't have as many features. It doesn't interface with BSNA. The pricing was about $7,000 less.
What are other communities using right now? Do you know what else?
I know that some in the area are using the Silversmith data, and I've asked even our engineer, and they've never heard of this one, but when they watch the YouTube overview of it, are really intrigued. So it's just a matter of they haven't had the exposure, I believe.
My concern was, like Herb said, we're going to get this $33,000 equipment in here. Are they going to utilize it? Are they going to do what they do? I mean, we are a population of 4,000 people roughly, 1,500 families, 1,000 household. Of course, our supervisors are going to like this better. This is the Cadillac. They like the Cadillac. They like the best thing that's there. Is it beneficial to the point, I'm trying to figure out, is this going to be beneficial to our township for the amount of money that we're paying for this thing, that we're paying to get this in? And of course, like I said, I know they would like it because it is the Cadillac and it does everything for them. How often do we use it? How often are we going to get our money? Are we going to do 2 calls a month on it? Are we going to do 3 calls a month on a water leak or a valve damage?
These are going to be things that they use on their everyday tools. When they go out for a misdig, they can map that. They won't have to go back and find that again. Whenever they go out to do any service work on hydrants.
Any digging up, it'll all be, and he didn't say that, they
Yeah.
can take pictures. There's a note thing that you can put on there.
Right.
And there'll be pictures of like the stop box or a valve, whatever they do there. Like when they did the big dig over there by Bob's house, there was that big valve's nest. We got pictures, but what do you do with them? And this way here, when the people retire, the information doesn't go with them. It'll stay in this system.
And it will be utilized every day. It's just like being BSNA. It will become the primary tool for doing your job. In this office, the staff's primary tool for doing their jobs every day is BSNA software. It used to be spreadsheets, and it used to be other standalone software, but now it's all BSNA.
So you're saying, Larry, right now, when we go out and do a misdig or we do a valve, we're not marking that, we're not listing it anywhere, it's not getting recorded anywhere right now?
He's recording it like on paper, I would imagine.
Some
what Blaine is
notepads,
doing, a
spreadsheets.
notepad.
It doesn't go into a book, it doesn't go into our computer system, it doesn't go into anything?
I don't think it goes into the computer.
It could go on a notepad or a spreadsheet, and that's one of the things that he can import is those spreadsheets that they have been keeping.
That's why I was asking the question, because one of the issues is you have to report a lot of this stuff now, their asset management, you have to report to the state on a regular basis. And if you have to go back and look at every one of the documents and so on, and you can't with 1 or 2 clicks collect all that information and spend 20 minutes instead of spending 3 days collecting the information. That's time that is beneficial to save.
How often are you gonna have to use that, though, is what I'm saying, how
They
often?
They
are
have
you
to
gonna do that?
report now. It's, the state requirements for reporting have just escalated dramatically. And, I mean, just a simple thing, they mentions in here, something about lead pipes and things like that. Can you imagine how people are trying to find out, does our community have lead pipes? And the only data that they might have right now is going back and look at every property within a community. And
Well, you're gonna have to do that anyway to program it, you're gonna have to do it, you're gonna have to find them to program it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to do that to find it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just concerned that no other municipality in our area has it, our engineers haven't even heard about it, and our community of 4,000 people, 1,000 households, are gonna be the first one to try this and go ahead with it. I would have liked to seen another alternative to this, another solution or something to it.
Well,
But I understand, I understand, you know, like I said, they like it, it works, and it's the Cadillac, believe me, it's an awesome thing to have. My question is, does our township need something to this extent?
I think you'll find a lot of townships have, and cities have these
Cities.
township.
Again, we're 4,000 people. We're not 80,000, we're not 60,000, we're 1,000 households. So we need to adapt to something that adapts to our township.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, the thing is there aren't a whole lot of options because they're all very customized and customizable. So if we were to look at others, I wouldn't know where else to start. But if anyone has suggestions.
And what about grants? Did you say we got a partial grant?
This will qualify for a portion of the SEMCOG data management AMP grant that we are receiving for about $3,000 of it.
That's a small portion of the 33,000.
So if it is the funding that you'd like to discuss, I can, give you some background of where the funding would be appropriately coming from in your capital improvements, capital
Yeah, I read that on the
projects,
front.
fund balance. You've been accumulating a 51% added accumulation in 2018, 26% added accumulation in 2019. Your capital projects fund balance is $696,000.
And this board has worked very, very hard to get the capital projects to that fund.
That's been
what
growing
I'm saying.
since you used it for the
And we have spent a
RBCs.
lot of money in this last year and a half
Oh.
renovating, doing everything to sewers, upgrading our offices. We have spent a lot of money. And I understand, we had a fiduciary responsibility on this board. That's why our funds are good the way they are. I would like to see if we're gonna spend the money, let's spend it back towards our residents. I mean, right now, we give our residents fire protection, we give them police protection, we pay for the lightings, we do the garbage. Our taxes are gonna continue to go up, our asset management is gonna go up, it's up for the next 3 years. If we have this extra money, why don't we get it back to our residents and lower our taxes or do something with it? Just because the money's there doesn't mean we have to spend it.
Your capital projects fund is a committed fund.
But we've used the capital projects funds as long as I've been here, as that's always been our ace in the hole if we have a breakdown on our sewer system. that's where we could take money to fix a major leak or a major break or whatever. But now with this asset management, they want you to plan ahead. We're fortunate in East China here that we have that money set aside.
Absolutely.
A lot of places
Absolutely.
don't have that, so they're really pushing this, to, see how long the lifetime of your infrastructure and when it's gonna quit and have the money set aside. I think Flint really led us down that road.
I think we're way ahead of most of the communities in this area, Larry, for our asset management. But I'll tell you, north from here, they're still gonna do those days of paper maps. They can't afford to do something like this. So those smaller communities are still gonna manage and get by
Well,
with
and
that.
in St. Clair County, East China Township is one of, if not the only township that has a water sewer plant. I don't know of any other township that has, maybe Clay does,
Yeah, but he also said we're the second smallest
in this area. Yeah,
in this
it
area,
is, yeah.
second smallest.
Right. Well, we're not asking to, I don't think just to review it was the action requested, so if you're asking for another something, then we'll have to see if we can get you something.
It's whatever the board's wishes are. I mean, that was just my opinion, and
I mean, I like I said, my only concern is that it's well used. I think it's a great tool. If it makes, the part I struggle with government is that we're not a private business. If this is what I did in my real world, in my job, I'd be all over this, because I know my guys it would be very efficient. But with government, will it really make our people so much more efficient that they'll have more time to do other things that are needed? Will this make Blaine, if he's spending 3 days out on a missed dig site, and this is gonna trim it down to an hour, because all he has to do is pull up an area?
But this is
And
gonna
it-
take time to evolve to that.
Well, I understand, this is gonna take years to build this
Yeah.
database. That's the problem with every database. I don't expect it to be a turnaround instantly. I would hope Blaine's with us for a long time. Is it gonna take 10 years to get this, and is it going to, again, save him and his department time, or Dwayne? If it's going to make everyone's life easier, produce the reports we need, I'm all for it. I just wanna make sure, and again, their letters state that they like it, but I agree with Angelo, they would love the Cadillac all the time. I just wanna make sure we're gonna get a return on investment on this.
Well, another thing that Jason said at the demonstration, that probably we'd have to hire somebody to input stuff into this to speed it up, And Blaine said he could enter, and Dwayne said he could enter, and Chuck said they can enter. But can they enter everything that this thing will do? I mean, that's gonna take a lot of time.
Can this be integrated with our building department?
Yes.
So
Code
for instance, they get
enforcement,
construction drawings for a new development?
Right,
They can input this into that
yeah.
GIS data set?
Yeah, that's the benefit. It really can be used for any cemetery management, building department, planning and zoning, code enforcement. So the costing could be spread over many departments, if that's also a concern.
is China gonna be a part of this?
Well, we're gonna buy it on our own. But if we utilize stuff for them, that we can charge them for that.
Okay.
Isn't that what we talked about,
Right,
Cindy?
all of the assets on their side, all of that would be chargeable.
And down here, almost one of the last paragraphs, it says, the Empower will link this directly with the St. Clair County Equalization Department, and they will utilize the high-resolution aerial maps, which we'll be acquiring later this year. We've already paid for that high-resolution aerial maps, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Well, we haven't yet. They haven't billed us. They
Well, it
haven't
was
done the
$750,
flyovers.
wasn't it, to go to the
Okay.
three?
So we're just gonna be getting.
Yeah, they haven't had the flyby yet. have
No, they haven't done the flyovers. They've been
Okay.
delayed, but that
Yeah,
will.
and he mentioned on that at the demonstration, that will be great for them. We'll get more resolution out of the mapping and that.
Okay.
But if you look in the mapping that we have, I mean, all these years, these guys are taking these maps out of the DPW, they throw them in the truck, they take them to the jobs, they get all mud, they get all ripped. When we had, I think Wade Trim has all the maps that we have. We didn't get all that stuff when we changed engineers. They have it. They will get it to us, but we gotta pay for it from Wade Trim.
Right.
So, I mean,
Same thing
I'm
other
not
communities,
100%
same thing
certain.
other communities are doing, Larry.
right,
Same thing.
yeah. But I don't know if other communities, what they're doing. But I think it would warrant a call. I like in their list of people there, that Gull Lake Sewer and Water Authority. I would think we could give them a call and see what they're saying about this, and call a couple of these municipalities and see how they like it before we make the total move.
I mean, all his places were up north, Munising, Ironwork,
Oh, they're
Kingsford,
from Iron
Escanaba.
Mountain, yeah.
Everything is way up, and I would definitely think we should research it a little bit before
Yeah.
we make a decision on it, to find out, what the strengths and weaknesses of this is.
We should maybe find out to see if any of them are as small as we are, based on that information, and
Right,
See if
and that's what I'm
they've
saying, do
liked
it
it.
comparable with it. I mean, I think Kingsford would be something close to our size.
but I do like the idea that it will integrate with the system, and it doesn't have to stand alone as a separate, piece of equipment that we might not use as much if it's just sitting there by itself. This is gonna integrate into everything, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would recommend the other option. It does require hardware. It requires the books, GIS capable books, and it's a standalone. So even if you don't decide to go with something like this right now, I'm not sure that the other one is a good enough fit for $7,000 less.
It would be good to talk to somebody that's maybe, regardless of where they're at in the state, but that has had it for a few years, because I think it's, like Herb mentioned, are they really using all of the elements of it? And you could probably get a pretty good idea in talking to some of them whether or not, they're getting the full use of it, because that's an important point. Also, have they done any documentation that, at least a narrative, an anecdotal information about how much time they might save? I know when they were down in our area, in my house area, there's an old water line. They spent 4 days trying to find that old water line, and he finally found it. Now, how did he document that, and where did that documentation go? Because if they have to spend another 4 days finding that line again,
We
because somebody
abandoned that
lost the
line.
paper that Lane made notes on, that's the kind of information that I think becomes important. And maybe they would have stories. Some of these communities might have stories. Oh, yeah, we found that by documenting all of this, we've been able to save 450 man hours or something like that, people hours. So I would encourage us to, if we could look maybe like Gull Lake or some of the other ones, communities that are about the same size that have water and sewer operation.
I like the simple fact that there's going to be consistency after we're gone. Because we've heard how many stories on this board of, well, back when so-and-so was township manager, or so-and-so was this, there is no consistency. As long as it's getting input and it's carried on after I'm long gone, then, yeah, that's 50% right there of a yes for me, just to have consistency. Because I can tell you right now that Blaine probably doesn't know everything that our last DPW manager knew when it comes to where valves are and where certain things are. So that is definitely a value I see in this software, is that as long as good data is put in, you'll get good data out.
But they gotta put it in. Somebody's gotta be putting it in all the time. That's in order to utilize everything.
I did reach out to a couple of the communities. I don't know how many replied back, but just a couple basic questions. How long have you had it? What do you love about it? What would you have made different about it?
Did he mention how much it would cost to have them gentlemen come in and input everything? How long it would take, or what he would charge for that, to input the information?
Well, we do that. We would do that.
We would do
it, yeah.
Right. Whatever information is already in spreadsheet, but the field work has to be done. That's the
Okay.
field work that
Yeah,
has to be
the-
done.
And that's who's gonna come in and do the field work, the gentleman will?
No, our people will be doing the
Our
field
We were
work.
talking about having a gentleman come in, what were you referring to?
Well, I say, he said we may have to hire like a college kid in the summertime to, part-time,
Oh,
or to
okay.
input some of the data.
Okay.
You know,
When
not hire another,
Okay,
when Blaine is, when the guys are out there every day and they're doing stuff, they're making notes, they're doing, they're a record of something, and if you could put it in a central database, and that's really what this is, that it can be retrieved any place, anytime on your smartphone, that has some value to it. So you don't have to go and hunt for where Blaine wrote this down, and did he file it someplace, or it is in this record, and so on. So that's, I understand what you're saying, Angelo, and I look at it, is this going to save time, and how much, what's the value added
Oh,
to the cost that we're...
Right, and like
Yeah.
Herb said, are we gonna utilize everything? And my
Yeah.
other thing is, Bob, if you're gonna put it into a central base, is there something else out there that we can do that with?
I
mean, is there anything else out there that can handle that or go into a central base? And I've gotta believe there is something else out there. You know, other municipalities, and you know, like we said, there's no one from, God, you can go from Livingston County all the way down, no one is using this.
Well,
So
they're using something else.
They're using something else, exactly. They're using something else. This is the Cadillac. This is an awesome project. It's awesome. I think it's very good for what it is. I just think it's a little more than what our township needs.
I do have a reply from Escanaba, one of the communities that is the user. They've been using it since 2008 and released to the public in 2012. Using primarily for parcel mapping, and public site is used for parcel mapping, information pertaining to recreation zones, soils, and things like that. The internal site shows all utility mapping and the ability to run the reports and queries. One of the main reasons we chose Empower was the ability to fully customize our needs. At the time, none of the other 7 companies we looked at could customize their product to meet our immediate needs. Bottom line cost was significantly less than other companies, and it has saved the city huge amounts of time and money, not just in the short term, but over a long period of time from how we used to do the same tasks over many years. So that's Escanaba. I had reached out to about 3 or 4. This is the one that I received a reply.
So
And I can follow up with others.
So the total yearly cost is going to be $1,200.
This is a one-time cost, isn't this?
No,
There's
the maintenance, it's just like BSNA. We're going to get our annual maintenance, which includes all of the automatic updates and all of the technical support.
So that amount comes to $1,200 according to this last line item. I'm assuming it's going to be $1,200 from here on out.
Gotta get it in
What's
front.
the integrator?
Yeah, like I said, as long as we maintain the maintenance agreement, then they would,
Greater annual maintenance is $2,400, and then the editor,
Yeah.
which is where you get all the reports and work orders and such.
He
Okay,
talked,
he
he
broke
talked
it
about
up.
the 2 lines. Yeah,
Right.
there's the,
Okay,
so it'd be 3,600 a year.
okay.
Oh, on top of the 33,000.
That's
Well, the
included.
The first
First
one's
year's
That's the
included.
first year.
Yeah.
My only, I'd be curious to know whether or not they're just more expensive on the front end. And any competitors would probably be higher than that on a yearly maintenance. That may be,
Yeah, let me see, I have this other one here.
Well, I think we spend enough time on this right now. I don't know. What do we want to do? What direction we want to go? Do we want to get other opinions or see what else is out there? Or we need some direction.
The other one that I looked at, their annual recurring costs is 14 plus 14 plus 15. So a little bit more,
was that 43?
yeah.
I think the thing that scares me is that there's nothing down here. You know, we can't call Clay Township up and say, have you got it? Or, you know, and this is a company that's far, far away up in Iron Mountain.
Well,
could we call
Software.
Marysville or call Port Huron and ask them what they're using? What are they using?
Yeah.
I mean, just to give us an idea if there's anything out there, anything else out there?
Yeah. Does the county have this too? County
I
wouldn't
have
be
not
using?
done that research yet, I have not. had
MTA, could they maybe give us some information on this? Is there anybody at MTA that might be able to give us some information?
Yeah, we could call there. All right, so what do we want to do with this? And just, we have to make is there a deadline when we have to make a decision on this? How good is the quote? How long is it good for?
There's no action item here.
Doesn't say.
I'm sure they'll hold it.
It's only 2 weeks.
What is this little on the bottom here I was reading here? Empower services are provided on a time and material basis, travel, lodging, per diem, expenses to be reimbursed by the customer.
Right.
That's why I asked for the warranty, because that's what I read, and I had it circled, because every time they come down here, we gotta put them up.
Yeah, that's what I'm
We gotta
saying.
pay for their food, we gotta pay for their lodging, and pay for their
The,
time and material.
the quote would include all of their training and deployment is included. That's included. I believe that's standard terms and conditions. If they needed to come down here, which it's all remote based, I don't know that they would ever need to, but if they needed to, if we called them down and said, we want you to come train us outside the scope of this proposal, then yeah, they would have to quote that. BSNA does the same thing.
I mean, it looked to me like Blaine picked this up like, boom, he was doing it. And it was like, we were talking about where we were at and what, and like he said, Blaine really picked it up. But, all right, I can reach out to a couple, or Cindy or myself, we can reach out to Port Huron, Marysville, the MTA, and bring it back at the next meeting, I guess.
Is that what you want me to do?
Yes, would
You
you?
want me to reach out to local communities and ask them?
See what they're using for theirs. Does that work for you, Angela?
Again, it's the board's pleasure. I mean, I'd like to see that, but if the board wants,
Yeah,
if the
I'm
board
good
wants
with
to act
that.
on this tonight,
But
Do you need a motion?
you weren't really asking for action on it, that,
No, we're not asking for, so would we just table the discussion?
well, you don't even need to do
No.
that.
Okay,
We've
no
already
motion
reviewed
needed.
it.
No motion is needed, you're not tabling any action, so
All right, so we'll move on to new business.
what you're doing is just requesting the administration or whomever to gather some additional information.
All
essentially.
right, so we'll work on their new business 2 FEMA grants. That would be Cindy again.
Well, I've included a cover letter. As you know, the board approved applying to the FEMA grant. And as you can see that they've reviewed it and it was not deemed to be a good fit. They've given us their feedback. There are 2 more opportunities to submit the applications at no added cost to do so. However, for us to have a much better chance at securing those grants, we need to do some updates and some changes to the original applications. And those changes would be done by our engineer, and he's given us a quote to make sure that we have the best opportunity. And these funds would then be recovered by the grant should we get the grant. The reason that we are being encouraged is that there is another grant in September that we can apply for, and then the next cycle next year starts, and there likely will be funding available due to the flooding that happened up in Bay County, Midland County. There will likely be another federal disaster funding emergency funding available under the same grant.
And we're seeking $270,000, is that what I read there?
79.
279, 6. But that'll go up when they add the generator to this. I see that was one of the things that it was lacking, was a generator.
The project that was approved. $279,613.80 of the grant amount, the match requirement of $71,923. So likely the project would be, the amounts would be adjusted based on the reviews and what we need to change. It may change slightly. In that case, we would still need another resolution of support when the board decides to submit the application.
If we have PCE do this, and it'd be a tough question here, Cindy, but if we ask PCE to do this, is it, with the work that they're going to do, is it pretty much guaranteed we'll get that, or we still won't know?
Nobody can tell for sure, but I can tell you that they have been, the state police, the Michigan State Police, who are kind of our go-between, have been very encouraging to us to keep moving forward.
So I guess what we're looking for is a motion to allow PCE to spend $3,456 to update this grant application.
I'll make a motion that we approve the proposal from Project Control Engineering in the amount of $3,456 to amend the FEMA PDM grant application.
I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we allow PCE to spend $3,456 to update the application grant. It's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion?
Question, we do know that grants are coming available.
What's that?
Grants, additional grants are coming available.
There are 2 more opportunities for applications to be submitted.
That's what I thought this implied.
Yes.
So is there any further discussion? Anybody else have questions? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Ms. Babel?
Yes.
Mr. Patsalos?
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock?
Yes.
All yes.
Motion carries, we allow that. Moving on to new business 3, DPW new truck quotes. They're in your packet, Blaine got these in.
He's texted me, he's available. If anyone has questions, I can call him.
Cindy, could you explain a little bit what we looked at, that we had Corinne pull up the other day about how we've been taxing and not buying this truck for the last 18, 19?
Well, I don't know the reasons. I just know that it's been budgeted for.
It's been budgeted, but we haven't bought a truck.
For the last 2 years?
Yep. I think it was 17, 18, 19. So we have the money already to buy this truck.
In fact, the money is rolled into that capital funds, capital projects fund.
Right, because we had to put it someplace.
Just on another note, did we end up getting the other one repaired?
Yeah, he took it to another garage and got it, I think he got the brakes done for like $850 or something like that. But he didn't get the sensors, they were gonna give him a quote. Last time have you talked to Blaine anymore on that? Last time I talked to him, he was waiting for a quote on the airbag sensors.
Okay.
But he found a lot cheaper price, but he had to go farther west to a garage.
Okay.
But this is the other truck that we've been talking about.
Yeah, the '06 Chevy.
The
I
Dodge,
think it
or that Dodge that,
was. That's the one that the grass cutter, the seasonal worker drives.
Okay, so this truck will replace the one that we are short, according to Blaine.
Well, we're gonna get rid of this old Dodge and this '6.
The really old Dodge.
Yeah, the really old Dodge and this '06 that he's putting the brakes on, that he just put the brakes on, so.
The price on that, Larry, is $49,000, and what is $41,000 our price on that?
Yeah, that's what I
On the
read in
second
there.
page, is that it?
And he's suggesting we get the Chevy,
He wants the GMC Sierra.
or the Chevy, or GMC Sierra, yeah.
It has
But
a
I
price
see
of $49,429, but on the second page, that's $41,315. So
That's without the snowplow.
No, it says includes an 8-foot Pro Plus snowplow. Is that $41,000 The discount?
Oh,
we
it's
had?
the body.
No,
It's
it's
the,
the
must be
body.
the service body instead of the pickup, add $8,114.
So it's the cover
That takes it up
page
to the 49.
49, 429.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Oh, he wants the service utility body. He wants the service utility.
He wants the
body.
service box versus just a pickup.
Just a pickup, so that's the 49, okay.
The one we got down at the, that Ford that we gave the sewer plant quite a few years ago, that has a service box on it.
And that was with our discount, the 49,000 that we got?
Yeah, I believe these are all my deal prices, that's why he's had to go to these different
Okay.
dealers. Because I don't think any dealers around here are my deal dealers, these are the state. But I would check with Blaine to make sure, but I'm positive that these are the my deal prices. And that Ford one, I think that's just for the truck. And it'll probably take, I don't know if the thing's in stock or not, I don't know that. Or do we have to order it, and how long does it take? And these are 2020s that he's looking at.
The Ford's got 14 to 16 week lead time on it.
It does?
Yeah, there's a shortage of trucks right now.
Yeah, that's what I mean, I know there's a shortage of them. Well, it's up to you guys what you want to do with the, but I mean, our fleet is still pretty old. I mean, can you remember the last time we bought I think we bought a 16 was the last truck we bought. I believe that's the one that Blaine drives. That was a 3/4 ton. But they need, I think they need the 1 ton now that they pull the excavator on that trailer, like back and forth around the township and to the cemetery for graves and that. I would imagine a 1 ton would do a lot better job.
He has replied 8 to 12 weeks.
Which one?
I imagine the one he's asking for,
Oh,
8 to 12 weeks.
so I mean, it's gonna be fall,
Well,
be close to
be
winter.
just in time to get the snowplow going.
Yeah, hopefully we don't.
There was a question at the meeting about the snowplow, and some people,
Yeah, I don't know why we need the snowplow,
I
but,
I just want to bring it up because there was some question about do we need it, we don't need it, I don't know. I'm not really in a position to say we need it, or, I don't have the context for whether or not we need a snowplow.
I believe we have 3 of them now, but one will probably be going with that other truck.
I just say that because he's requesting it, and this includes a 8-foot Pro Plus snowplow,
Mhm.
and if we don't need it, then,
Well, I think you probably want to get a new plow versus taking one of the old ones and retrofitting it to the new truck. But I think I would suggest we get the plow.
I'll make a motion that we allow the DPW to order the GMC Sierra 3500 HD with a service utility body for not to exceed $49,429.
Support.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Babel,
Yes.
Mr. Blackstock,
Yes.
Freehan votes yes. Mr. Simons,
Yes,
Mr. Pasalis,
Yes.
all yes.
motion carries. Moving on to new business item 4, 2021 road projects. If you remember the 2020 road project, we're paving 1 mile of Bell River Road. This came about by the road trip that we take every spring. We didn't have one this year because of the COVID, but last year's, and I brought it to the board about, we had choices where we could pave all of Bell River Road from Meisner to the city limits with that chip seal, tar and chip seal. And the board decided to go with add the asphalt to it, 3/4 of an inch of asphalt, hardtop. That price was higher, so we decided we were gonna do 1 mile in 2020, and in the 2021, we were gonna do the other mile. This was a suggestion from the district foreman for the road commission. Cindy and I went on the road trip. I believe Blaine went with us
This
a year ago.
Oh, a year ago.
A year ago in April, April. And that was her suggestion. I called the district foreman, I think it was last Wednesday, and reiterated, is that what our discussion was? Is that what he's suggesting? And he said yes, and I asked him to send me some kind of letter or email so I'd have something written, but he didn't send me nothing, so. I'm suggesting that that's what we do. That was our plan. And what we're trying to do is get more bang for our buck with the local road funding, because we can only get 50,000 to resurface. I think it was $112,000 to do that 1 mile, so it's gonna cost the township about 62, and we'll get the 50 from the county and the local match money. And then we'll get another 50 if we do the other mile. If we'd have done the whole thing and paid we'd only still got 50,000, but by waiting a year, we'll get that other 50,000. One of the roads that was suggested that we do is Putty Gut Road from 29 to the railroad tracks. But the district foreman and I agree, they're still using that for the Edison, a lot of truck traffic on that. So there's not much sense in doing that road until, maybe in '23 when the plant's up and running. For you people that'll be on the board, that's something to think about. That's my suggestion, but I'm open if somebody else knows another road that needs paving work more than that. But don't forget, they all have to be connected. We can't do a little bit here and a little bit there. It has to be one stretch to get that 50,000. So that's what I'm throwing out there, that we should do the other mile of Bell River Road. I believe it'll be from Springborn to the city limits. So I guess what we need is a motion, if that's what the board wants to do, to allow Bob to write up the,
I could prepare the resolution and so on, but we just need to decide.
if
This is
that's
for
what you want.
discussion, if you want to have a discussion of any ideas of the.
We don't have to have it in until September, but they kind of like to know ahead of time. And with that, another thing with that local road funding, you're supposed to be in it for 2 years and then you're supposed to set out for a year. But we've been really fortunate. Every year we get that 50,000 because some of the other townships can't come up with that 50% match money to do their roads. So it's really, you're almost getting, $2 worth of work for $1, which is a pretty good deal. And we've done it every year since I've been on the board, I think.
Yes.
I don't think that we've missed a
We have
year.
been fortunate, like you said, to get it every year, and we've utilized it every year.
And like when we did Springborn Road, we were able to get $100,000. That was supposed to be a 2-year project too. So we got $200,000 to do that Springborn Road because it was a total rebuild. On a total rebuild, they'll give you up to $100,000. But on a resurface, it's only $50,000. But if somebody else has something they want to do, throw it out here. I don't
I
know.
think Bell River's fine.
What's that?
I've been down that road, it's in need of it.
Yeah.
So you need a motion just for the second half then?
Yes.
We've already voted on the first half. Okay, I'll make a motion that we select the south end, or south half.
I think it's the
Bell River.
south half, yeah.
The south half of Bell River for the projects for the it wouldn't be 2020, it'd be 2021, correct? 2021 local road funding assistance program.
Support.
Okay, Herb. Okay, we have a motion, we have a support to do the last mile of Bell River Road from, I believe it's Springborn South. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Pasalas?
Yes.
Mr. Simons?
Yes.
Brianne's votes yes. Mr. Blackstock?
Yes.
Mrs. Babel?
Yes.
All yes.
Okay, motion carries. All right, moving on to new business 5, Urban Drive Lift Station Flow Sensor Cable. If you read your packet there, they gave quite an explanation. I'm not real happy with it. They ordered that cord, if you read in there, it says that they ordered it for the contractor ordered it too short, so then they moved it over onto the latch cover. Yeah, they ran it by us. We okayed it. But now they're saying that they can take that cord and use it on the Point Drive lift station. So we're gonna save some money there. But I would think we've already authorized to buy one there, so hopefully that'll come off of that bid that we had over there at Point Drive. So, I mean, we gotta get it fixed. It's not working. It worked for a while, but every time they slam that manhole cover down, it jars that sensor, and now it's not working.
Larry, it says it was installed by LaBelle Development. Was PCE,
Yes,
were they supposed to be overlooking the project? Were they
Yes.
supposed to be inspecting the project?
yes.
And they didn't realize that it was a 10 meter instead of a 20 meter? I mean,
Evidently not until they started installing it, and then it was too late, and I guess it took a while to get this stuff. You
we
just
pay
can't-
them to inspect that. We pay them inspection fees, don't we?
That's what upsets me.
That's,
But I guess you could blame me, I didn't get nothing in writing, or PCE should have got something in writing from LaBelle, but we didn't get anything, so.
We weren't notified in any way that this was an issue?
What's that?
We weren't notified in any
We
way?
were. I remember the incident, and then they came up with the remedy to put it on the lid.
Okay.
And they said that'll work fine there, so we were
basically
gonna
just
buy it.
they re-altered it, Herb, said to put it on the lid. Now the lid's been open and closing so much that now it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So
Now,
whether
we
they
gotta
get,
spend $2,200 plus the installation.
we gotta get it fixed, but that's,
I mean, we're in a spot that we gotta do it. I mean, I don't know how but the only good thing is we can take that short one and use it over here on Point Drive. So we won't have to buy another one
it just
over
doesn't come
there.
off good for PCE, that's all. I mean,
Yeah.
if we pay you to inspect it, that's his job to inspect it. Don't come to us later and say that it's too short, can we use it too short? I mean, it's-
Right. That's the things that upset me.
Well, it has to be done.
It's
It
gotta
has to be done. I'll make a motion that we approve the purchase of a 20-meter sensor cable for the Urban Drive lift station for PCE, not to exceed $2,424.56.
But isn't there the time and material estimate of
What's that?
500? Isn't there another 500 on there? Or am I reading this wrong?
Yeah, I think it comes to 30.
Yeah,
29, 24.
Yeah, we gotta pay for the installation.
Oh, so PCE is going to charge us again for their time and material.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So they're going to
talking
charge us for their time again. Have we talked to them about eliminating their $500?
I haven't talked to him. I haven't talked to Anthony at all. But I can.
I would question it. I could also make a recommendation that we make sure that there's a credit on the current project,
There's what?
that there's a credit,
Right, okay.
that we verify that during their pay applications to make sure that we do receive that credit.
I mean, Larry, you could ask it, but I could make the motion for 29,
Yeah,
24,
if we can-
56.
yeah,
And
that'd
if
be
you can
good.
talk them out of the 500, then
All right. 29, what was it, 29?
292456.
Okay. Do we have a support for that?
I'll support.
We have a motion and a support. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Blackstock,
Yes.
Ms. Babel,
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Mr. Simons,
Yes.
Mr. Patsalos.
Yes.
All yes.
Okay, moving on to new business, item 6, institute attendance request, Wendy Meldrum, Deputy Clerk Secretary. Mr. Freehand.
Actually, you had the paperwork. I'm recommending that we send Wendy Meldrum to the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks Annual Institute. This is one of the few it is still scheduled. Most of the other ones have been canceled. This is an institute. It's a 5-day institute. It's very intensive. And because of the job that Wendy is doing right now as deputy clerk, and potentially, since I am not running for clerk, and at this point we have nobody running for clerk, either in the August primary or at this point in the November election, that it may very well be the case where Wendy ends up training whoever serves as clerk for the township board. You may end up having to appoint somebody. So we saw this as an opportunity. She had looked at a couple of other programs. This is the only one that has continued to remain on the schedule. The benefit is that of the $700 registration, because I won as part of the County Clerks Association, I won a scholarship for $500, and we asked if that could be transferred to Wendy, and they agreed with that, so we would get a reduction of the registration fee. We would pay it, and then we would just be reimbursed it. So that reduces the registration fee from $700 to $500 or to $200, and then there would be the incidental expenses in addition to that I estimate will probably be about $700. They're staying at the Comfort Inn. The nightly rates at the Comfort Inn are about $85. So this isn't a luxury conference by any means.
Where is it at again?
It's in Mount Pleasant.
I'll make a motion that we approve Wendy Meldrum to attend the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks Institute from August 16th to the 21st with all necessary expenses.
I'll support it.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we allow Wendy to attend the,
Who supported it?
Bob,
I did.
the Institute for the clerk's training. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Patsalos.
Yes.
Mr. Simons.
Yes.
Freehand votes yes. Mr. Blackstock.
Yes.
Ms. Babel.
Yes.
All yes.
Motion carries. That concludes our new business. Next, we have Township Manager. Do you have anything to report, or would you like?
Nothing specific right now.
Nothing right now? Okay. All right, moving on to announcements. The only announcement I have is the tentative date for closing the Meisen Road Bridge is July 13th, which will be next Monday.
Whoa.
So
Okay.
they're going to come out with an official notice on that.
And what was the scheduled downtime? What were they thinking month-wise?
3 months,
3 months?
could turn into 6, I don't know. They got to see what they come up with when they start tearing it apart, seeing what the footings are. The next thing would be board member comments. Mr. Pasalis.
Are we going to be doing any kind of work on our bike path?
Yes. I'm not at liberty to say.
Uh-huh.
We got some good news.
We got some good news on
So
that.
we will be doing significant
Okay.
repairs this summer.
Is it going to be at least general area are you looking at right now, or?
The bearings here. I think it's heading up this way.
Yes,
Yep.
okay, all right.
Yep.
That's what I was.
But if you have an area, I mean, we can jump
Well, I
around on
know
that. you
there's
know.
been a little hole that's still there, but it's starting to collapse.
Where is that
It's between
hole?
Springborn and Bell River Woods Boulevard there. It's more towards Springborn. It has been circled with the green, so somebody must have been out there to look at it. There's a green paint around it. But it seems that every day it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's a sinkhole. It's got to be about this big right now. It's probably that deep.
All right.
So I don't know if it's continuing to sink. And then from Meisner towards the park, it was pretty bad. So it sounds like that's the area that Cindy's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, we are gonna do some work on that. And we're trying to get going on it right now. That was in our staff meeting the other day, the discussion.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Freehand?
We've had nearly 700 people apply for absentee ballots for the August primary, and we are encouraging people to consider voting by absentee because we will be doing social or physical distancing. We are required to do that. And with the nature of the ballot and the protection for the election workers, the lines are likely to be much longer, and the time for voting in person will be slower than what is normal. So we do encourage people. I know a lot of people, they do like to take the time and energy to vote in person, and I don't deny them that right. We don't want to deny them that right. But for those that want to take advantage of the absentee ballots, we certainly will process those, and all it takes is a phone call to the township hall to get an application to vote absentee.
Good. Thank you. Herb?
Nothing, except it's good to be back in human form.
Live.
Not a fan of Zoom or
Me either.
phone conferences, so it's
Go
good
to
to be
meeting.
back.
Debbie?
Just getting back on the bike path situation, I noticed on several sections, it really needs to be trimmed. It's gotten pretty
Yeah, the
overgrown,
overhang.
you know.
Yeah, where did you notice it? Mostly between
I'm
Meisner
gonna have
and
to jot
Springborn?
it down now when I go by again, because I can't actually remember. But even, the grass and everything else along the edges is really overgrown and,
Well, we just got our
It's
seasonal
kinda-
worker back, and I see he
Okay.
was cutting up here by the hospital the other day,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe we only cut back about 3 or 4 feet.
yeah, but it still looks pretty bad.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Larry, what, was it a few years back, you had a company come in and did the over,
The county,
oh, that was the county that
yeah,
came through?
they had that mower and they put it up
They
on
did
the
an
side.
awesome job.
Yeah, they really did a good job.
they
I
did a
can
very
get them
nice
back to
job.
do that
Yeah.
if we
Maybe
think
that would be a
because
good
it was
idea.
starting to look really bad, like,
I don't know what that cost or how much money.
it
that-
wasn't bad.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, that really looked nice when they did that.
All right. Is that all you have, Deb?
That's it.
Okay, I got just a couple things. One thing that Cindy and I and the staff here is working on is getting some master meters between China and East China on the water side. So there's gonna probably be some expenses there, but right now how it works is, we read their meters and that's what we bill them for. But, all the transition lines, and if there's a major leak, then we all have to split it up. Where if we knew how much water was going into the townships, and it's in the agreement that there's supposed to be meters there, but they didn't put them in back when they did the,
We've talked about that for a while.
yeah, it's been on my radar for a while. Then the other thing that I had was what Herb is saying here, he doesn't like the Zoom meetings. What are we gonna do if we go backwards and go like into phase 3 and phase 2?
Don't say that, Larry.
I know, but I mean, it's out there. Just throwing it out there, I mean, I think, I don't like the Zoom, I mean, they work good, but, or not Zoom, but the
GoToMeeting.
But,
we-
It's better to be personal, to me, see people's reactions and.
It's just hard to hear certain people. You don't catch everything that's on there. I mean, you miss a sentence here or there, and it's hard to communicate over it.
So right now, our next meeting will be what, on the 20th?
20.
So
Herb's
we're
not
gonna
be
plan on having it as we're doing this one, right? Okay.
the contract we have, by the way, is open-ended. We pay on a monthly basis. It costs us $19, and we can have an unlimited number of meetings. So, and the Water and Sewer Department, they held their meeting because we couldn't use the building. So they held their meeting using the telephonic system, so.
Okay, so we're planning on having, and all I want to say is everybody stay safe, and we're doing the best we can, and so far we've been doing a good job, I think, in the township here, so. If anybody's got any complaints or that, call or stop in. With that, I guess we need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion at 9:40 that we close the meeting.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a support. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.